So E3 is just around the corner, and lots of excited people are boarding the hype train. There's going to be tons of new flashy trailers for games we probably won't see for a few years, surprising announcements, unsurprising announcements, and Ubisoft are probably going to start dancing at some point. But on June the 10th, EA Play kicks off and we'll be able to finally see Star Wars Battlefront 2. A game which went by the same name came out 12 years ago back in 2005, and if you're a Star Wars fan and lucky enough to have picked up a copy of it, you'll know that it was a pretty frigging good game. EA released their own Star Wars Battlefront game, the first one, just a couple of years ago, and it was met with a lot of meh reviews. Some people loved it, but a lot of people didn't, and although I don't think it was particularly terrible, I know for a fact that it wasn't perfect. With a new Star Wars Battlefront 2 game on its way, this means that EA have got some gargantuan boots to fill if they want to use that name, as they're going to have to pull off some impressive stuff if they're going to have any chance of winning a lot of the fans back over. With there already being a successful game out there which literally goes by the same name, it doesn't take a genius to see that maybe some of the things from the old 2005 game should be brought back into the new. I've compiled a bit of a list of said things which consists of the downright obvious to the maybe slightly less obvious. Whether or not any of these things will actually be in the game, we just don't really know at the moment. But here's a bunch of stuff that I'd like to see return in the new version from the old. So first of all, let's get an obvious one out of the way. Space battles need to come back, and I'm not just talking about little dogfights here, I'm talking massive full-blown battles with loads of different fighters, interesting gameplay mechanics to help keep every match fresh, and the main feature, being able to board capital ships to take down their shield generators so that the guys flying around outside can take down said capital ship to win the match. And this would fuse together both the on-foot and dogfighting gameplay into a nice little package. Everybody's been asking for these kind of space battles since we first heard about Battlefront a few years ago. I want them, you want them, your best mate wants them, your uncle's dog wants them, everybody friggin' wants them, as it was one of the main things that made Star Wars Battlefront 2 unique back in the day. Remember that huge space battle near the beginning of Revenge of the Sith? Well, that's what it needs to be like. Lots of action, lots of chaos, and lots of variety. Something else that really needs to change back to how it was before is the way that vehicles are handled. If you want to take control of an AT-ST in EA's 2015 Battlefront, you'd first need to find one of those immersion-breaking hologram tokens that spin around looking totally out of place. This whole power-up mechanic needs to go, and proper vehicles need to come back. No floaty arcade-style gimmicks, just good old-fashioned hop-in, hop-out vehicles. And we need to see a lot more variety in what we can drive too. I guess with the last game being set in the original trilogy only, this kinda limited what could be put in the game. But with the new Battlefront being set across pretty much all eras, this gives DICE a huge scope of variety. The 2005 Battlefront 2 had all the typical things you'd probably expect to be in a Star Wars game like AT-ATs and speeder bikes, but it also had loads of other quirky things from the prequels like Hailfire droids, spider droids, and big ass tanks, which could all be player controlled. There were about 16 to 17 different ground vehicles alone in the old Battlefront 2, whereas in EA's 2015 Battlefront there were only a few, which all played out in a very arcadey way. Now obviously with the advancement of technology over the years, and the way that games have evolved, it'd be a bit trickier trying to make 16 or 17 ground vehicles which are all balanced, working correctly, and looking wonderful. But at the end of the day, when you look at how many different kinds of vehicles can be found in the Battlefield games, from helicopters to light tanks, to heavy tanks, to artillery trucks, to horses, to... yeah, you get the picture. And with each one having customization options and different variations, this shows us that it's definitely not impossible to have a wide variety of vehicles to pick from. And the idea that they can be jumped into on the map or at spawn points at any given time throughout a match sounds a lot more functional to me. Now, while we're on the topic of vehicles, it does look like we're going to get a bit more variety this time around, as we can see those Tautons running around in the trailer. But this kind of made me think, well, why not add more creatures too? Star Wars is a franchise built on aliens and weird looking monsters, and the 2005 Battlefront 2 had quite a lot of different creatures in it. Jabba's palace had Gamorrean guards which ran around soaking up damage and smacking people over the head with big axes. Felucia had Acklays, and if you don't know what an Acklay is, it's basically the big green nasty praying mantis guy we saw from Attack of the Clones. You could also play as an Ewok if you wanted to, not just watch them run into the trees like a crappy Easter egg, but actually play as them, throwing spears at stormtroopers and actually helping the rebels out a bit, like in Return of the Jedi. Imagine having creatures that appear sometimes in matches that attack both teams. Tusken Raiders popping up on Tatooine and shooting at anything and everyone that moves, Wampas that might appear in certain caved areas on a Hoth map that chase down anyone dumb enough to walk too close. I mean, personally, I'd love to see a map based on a non-movie planet like Dathomir, and just have a bunch of rancors wandering around just wrecking everyone. But generally, adding more creatures, in my opinion, would definitely help to add to the overall experience, and it'd give people more things to watch out for and possibly something else which could net players more points for taking out together as a team. But anyway, with Tautons and Rontos appearing in the trailer, hopefully this might mean that more creatures will be making their way into the new game. When EA released their first Battlefront title in 2015, it launched with 12 multiplayer maps, which was a pretty decent amount. Some of these maps were small, some of them were big. But unfortunately, the only way to actually play on certain maps was to play on a specific game mode. So if you like Walker Assault, you were pretty much stuck with the same few maps on repeat, which gets pretty boring pretty quickly. The fact that the game only initially featured 4 planets, Hoth, Endor, Sullust and Tatooine, meant that all of the maps were spread out over these 4 planets. So we kept seeing the same 4 environments popping up all the time, which contributed to the whole lack of content argument, as a lot of the maps felt very similar in comparison, making the game feel much smaller than it actually was. The 2005 Battlefront game features 18 different maps over 17 different planets. Yep, you heard me right there, 17 planets, and that's not including the space maps too. This made it very diverse and kept things from going stale quickly, as we were constantly being put into new worlds, which all looked and felt very different to each other. With the new Battlefront 2 title taking place over all eras, this gives DICE a huge opportunity to spread their wings a bit, and make a bunch of cool, unique, and exciting maps from all of the movies and the extended universe. And I really hope that this time around we get to see a lot more map variety, and hopefully we won't see so many of them being locked behind certain game modes too. Now, we already know that a class system will be built into the new Battlefront 2, which is something we saw in the older games, and is definitely a step in the right direction. Another thing which could come back, and which probably will come back, is the different factions and species depending on the planet. I want to see an army of Wookiees on Kashyyyk, Geonosians on Geonosis, droids, Gungans, clones, Imperials, the New Order, pretty much everything that had a fight in the movies I want to see in the game. It'd add tons of variation from a stylistic standpoint, and it'd help us actually relive those battles from the Star Wars films a lot more accurately. I'm pretty sure more factions are going to be in the game this time around, as we can already see that battle droids are confirmed. But it'd be cool to have other things like Magna Guards and Droidicas also, which were already in the original 2005 Battlefront 2. But just imagine how cool it'll be rolling around Naboo as a Droidica, laying waste to a bunch of Gungans whilst using the power of the Frostbite engine. Sounds pretty epic to me. Now there's probably loads of other things that should and could return from the old Battlefront 2, but there's one thing that stands out from almost everything else, and it's something that the fans have been asking for quite some time. Galactic Conquest. In case you don't know or can't remember what it is, Galactic Conquest is a mode where players build and maintain fleets by taking control of planets on a galactic map. This blends together both space battles and ground-based combat, leading to some pretty epic fights, and it'll be very interesting to see it come back. As an offline mode, it could function in the exact same way that it did in the old Battlefront 2, with large AI battles panning across the game's maps, capturing and defending command posts and generally dwindling down enemy numbers, of course with the addition of split screen so it can be played locally too. Seeming as online competitive multiplayer is a massive part of gaming today, this mode would have to be totally revamped to work with multiple players if it was to make its way in the online world. But in theory it could play out as a huge team war, spreading out over several matches on different maps, kinda like how operations worked in Battlefield 1. And although it might be tricky to implement into online multiplayer, it'd be really cool if DICE did, and managed to pull it off successfully. So these are just a few of the things that I'd like to see come back in the new Star Wars Battlefront 2 game, from the old one. I'm not expecting everything I've said here to be returning, but it'd be nice if they did, and I'm sure some of these things might. But I guess we'll find out soon enough anyway. It certainly looks like DICE are listening to the fans a bit more this time around, scrapping the season pass and adding a single player mode, so hopefully it should have evolved a bit more from their first Battlefront game, which came out in 2015. But anyway, let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see return from the 2005 game, and whether or not you think that Battlefront 2 can live up to its expectations. Give me a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more content in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.